I found myself cornered into an art contest that I didn't want to be in, and it was for a class assignment, so I had to. Anyways, this is the story of how my art teacher sold me out for $100. Hey. If you're new here, hi, I'm Skuttz. I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, and while I've only been doing commissions for the last decade, I've got a lifelong list of stories around my experiences as an artist. Some of them are great, and unfortunately, some of them are learning experiences. I'll let you guess which one this is. Flashback to my senior year of high school. I had an art teacher out of a cartoon. She was so over the top and excited about art that I was really inspired. I looked up to her. The class settled into their seats as the bell rings for class to begin, the buzz about the weekend hushing down to let the teacher speak. She walked up to the front of the class with her usual perk and bright smile, but today, the smile hid some sinister news. "Okay, class, are you ready for a new project?" she asks in her usual excitement. We all tuned in, young aspiring graphic designers, ready to make some new art. "Today we're going to start thumbnailing for a competition. Your best designs will be finalized and turned into real products." It was at this moment that I got a little bit excited. Having my art on something being sold sounded really cool. Maybe we were going to learn about contract negotiations and how to handle rights to our work when dealing with commercial use. Oh, this was going to be so great. I held on to the edge of my seat, curious what we would be learning. Making a grand gesture, the teacher then went to explain how a past student had reached out to her with a proposition. He had just opened a skateboard deck company and was holding an art contest for designs. In exchange for the winning designs, she would get a $100 gift card to a craft supply store because technically the students couldn't receive it. So the students whose designs had been selected would get a skateboard deck with their art on it. While the guy who was getting the designs could potentially have made an unknown amount of money off the art. This didn't sit right with me, so I tried to ask about it, and I was basically told it was good practice for the real world, and it would be good portfolio work. Even though at that point I had understood the concept of royalties and commercial licensing, and I knew that this was absolutely unfair. If I balked to the principal about the questionable legalities of what the art teacher was doing, everyone would be mad at me. The other students didn't care, and they just wanted the free skateboard when I brought it up. If I refused to do the assignment, it would be an F for the class. There was no one to stand in solidarity with poor Skuttz. So, I did the only thing I could think of in that situation. I just phoned in the assignment. I hated using Adobe Illustrator, and I hated using Apple computers, so it was really, really easy for me to half-ass the whole project while I just struggled with the software, not doing what I was used to. I used Manga Studio and Photoshop Elements at home on a PC. Please, for the love of art, someone help me understand why I had a better time drawing in the Adobe program meant for editing photos than the one that was actually made for making art and illustrations. Anyways, all of that aside, we do our thumbnails, we submit them, and we basically drew the one that the teacher picked out. We drew her favorite and not ours. She was pretending to be our graphic design client in this scenario, and this happened a lot. It was one of my least favorite parts of the class, and it honestly made me loathe graphic design or art as client work in general. So I rolled my eyes and I pressed on to finish the assignment through the week despite my unenthusiasm. I wanted to do some kind of cool dragon or something abstract, but she picked a design that felt super uninspired. It was just the first thing that came to mind when I thought skateboard. It was a couple of staggered roses down the skateboard with a skull face on and one that was like a 3/4 turn. It wasn't that great. It wasn't that cool. It was pretty generic. I will say she did save me from doing the scale work on the dragon. After begging Adobe to make art, doing what I did with the roses was rough enough. I feel like the design work was really good in theory, but Adobe Illustrator was just not intuitive for me to work with, and everything felt very unintentionally angular. But persist I must. After a week of grueling work on a Mac, which I'm convinced is a creature sent from Avernus itself, we submit our final design prints with a file on a thumb drive. And the teacher announces that on Monday we're gonna find out who the winners are. Honestly, I did not expect to win, considering I didn't get to do the design I wanted or even put my full effort into what I made. And despite all that, come Monday, I was shocked to hear that I won first place in the art contest. The teacher congratulated me and the other two winners on our success as graphic designers, and she said she'd let us know when the skateboards came in. I was frustrated, but not shocked as the year progressed and no skateboard showed up. I'm not gonna lie, it absolutely changed how I viewed my teacher that day forward. I didn't feel like I was seen as an individual student. I felt like she was power tripping and taking advantage of students by leading us on like it was a privilege to participate. It felt like we were supposed to be distracted enough by the skateboards to forget about contracts for our work while ironically being praised for being ready for the real world. I was flabbergasted. No discussions about royalties, commercial licenses, or how to handle a client who wants to make a profit from the artwork you make. I felt like I got scammed and my teacher had sold me out for $100. Well, more like $33.33 if you count that it was technically divided among three students. Instead of the instructor teaching us about avoiding being scammed like this, she was the lesson in why to be careful. Though, to be honest, I'm not sure how much the guy actually made off of the art from a bunch of high schoolers learning Adobe Illustrator and screaming at Safari. Maybe the reason we never got our skateboards is because it was a really bad business plan and didn't take off, which is why you would want to spend money and negotiate to pay real graphic designers when you'd like products to have an artistic appeal and actually make sales. This isn't even the last time this teacher was wild either. Had I known it got so out of hand that I intentionally failed the class because of the stress, I would have just refused the assignment altogether and stood my ground. Comment down below if you've had any wild art teacher stories that left you speechless, and let me know if you want to hear the other wacky shit that this art teacher did to make an art gremlin fail an art class. The art teacher who adored me slowly began to see me as the bane of her teaching career. Stepping away from the friends to enemies arc here, let's take a look at the finished piece. And here we just have pure awesomeness. Someone let me go ham on a detailed eye portrait in a digital paint style, and I love that my commissioners trust me to take their character and a concept and scamper off, make something cool, and when I come back, they're just always so happy with it. And he's a fire bunny. It's just, yeah, I love it. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this art, check out one of my other videos. If you want to hear how this cautionary tale helped me out in the future when somebody was trying to scam me again, check out the video about my nightmare commissioners. Anyways, take care, have a good one, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.